Hello everybody, Randy Patrick here. Welcome to Housing Bubble 2.0 News of the Week, or as I like to call it, another episode of As the Housing Market Turns. Today is actually the weekend, believe it or not. All right, it's I'm doing this just because I think this sort of interesting news that came by. I didn't pick it up on Friday, but I saw it over the weekend here, so I figured do a quick video. And really, it's based on Adam Data Solutions, and they released what they call their Q3 2019 vacant property and zombie foreclosure report. And seeing the fact that we're talking a lot about foreclosures, vacant homes, looking at ways where we can purchase property that is discounted or cheaper than retail property, I figured this was pretty much worth talking about. So anyway, that's really what we're gonna go on today. Not much news. I'll do that earlier next week, but this is gonna be just about zombie foreclosures and the vacant. So again, Adam Data Solutions releases their information, and they found that in Q3 2019, so where we are right now, there's over 1.5 million single-family homes and condos that are actually vacant. So, and that's kind of a misnomer a bit here, just because vacant could mean a lot of things. Vacant could be, it's your second home or vacation home and it's unoccupied as of right now. Vacant could mean, it's a rental property and it's in between tenants or lessees. Vacant could mean it's facing a foreclosure situation, potential short sale, tax lien sale, lot probate, out-of-state owner, all sorts of things that could go on. So definitely, it's interesting, and you have to sort of look at these things, understand sort of which bucket they fit in. This represents about 1.6% of all the homes across the U.S. Now, if we actually take a look at the findings in the report, they break it down to about 9,600 properties facing possible foreclosure have been vacated by their owners nationwide. So what happens with respect to people who are facing foreclosure if they believe that they're actually going to lose the home? Sometimes they don't want to go through that process. They go, I'm out of here. They pack up, they bug out, off they go. They may go to another location, rent a place, who knows what they do, but they basically abandon the house. And then the foreclosure process just runs its course. Eventually the home will be foreclosed on, and either a third-party bidder at an auction will purchase it, or it will go back to the lender as in their REO inventory. So simple as that. So apparently Washington, D.C. has the highest percentage of zombie foreclosures at 12.5%. States where the rates were above the national average of having these homes included Oregon, Maine, Kansas, New Mexico. So they have higher than average, these zombie foreclosures. The lowest rates, believe it or not, were in New Hampshire, Idaho, Colorado, Connecticut, and Delaware. I kind of find that interesting for Connecticut and Delaware too, just because of what's going on there. Now, New York had the highest actual number of zombie properties, over 2,400, and followed by Florida, over 1,600, Illinois, just under 1,000, Ohio, almost 900, and New Jersey, 463. Now, if we take it a little bit deeper, you've got metropolitan areas with at least 100,000 population base. Peoria, Illinois had the highest percent of foreclosures that were zombies at 16.5%, followed by Wichita, Kansas, Syracuse, New York, and Honolulu, Hawaii, believe it or not. So stuff is kind of interesting when you take a look at that. And again, it's one of those things that, we're seeing certain states peak with the ebb and flow of filings, etc. So when you drill down to the local market, it's interesting what you can find out there. You want to look at the top 10 MSAs, and I've actually got the chart here. And what I'll do is I'll post this chart in the community section of my page here. So if you want to look at the top 10 metros that have the most zombie foreclosures, I can tell you that it's New York, Newark, New Jersey area, followed by the Chicago, Naperville, Elgin, Illinois. Next comes Miami, Fort Lauderdale, West Palm. Next is Cleveland, Elvira, Ohio. Next comes Tampa, St. Petersburg, Clearwater, where I live in this area. Next is Philadelphia, Camden, Wilmington, then Albany and Troy, New York, then Rochester, New York, Baltimore area and Maryland, and Jacksonville, Florida. So again, if we look at it, we got 1, 2, 3 in Florida for sure here, and obviously New York, New Jersey area, etc. So, it's kind of everything. All this sort of falls in line with foreclosure filings, with foreclosure filing spikes, stuff like that. So, it's not, again, this is not doom and gloom. This is pretty much what's going on in our industry. There's always going to be a certain percentage of properties that will always fall into foreclosure. So, before the last housing crisis, there was always a percentage of people that fell into foreclosure. It obviously increases with different economic times. We're still seeing foreclosure filings, as I mentioned all the time. As you know, a little while ago, 40% of all the major metros across the U.S. had year-over-year increases. So we're still seeing this. We're still going to see more and more filings, and more filings are going to bring more of these zombie foreclosures. Again, these are homes that are sitting there either doing nothing, that they could be potential deals. And what I mean by that is, if it's not been foreclosed on, so it's not been taken back or sold to a third party, it's actually an opportunity. Why? Because it's still owned by the homeowner. Now, they may have vacated it, so of course, if you look at this as a potential opportunity for your primary residence or investment, the key is to track them down and to see if you can contact them so you can work a deal with them. That's what the whole process is. So there are ways to do that, and we'll talk about that in some of my training programs we've got going on. And this does actually kind of segue nicely into that, nicely how I set that up, obviously. But the point is, these are homes that people don't really go after. And the reason why people don't go after them, because they take a little bit of extra work. And I look at it going, if the majority of people are going down this path for real estate, go down the path less traveled, because that's where the opportunities and the deeper discounts are. So that's kind of my perspective on these things. So when I do our foreclosure stuff or pre-foreclosure stuff, we're going to do direct mail or whatever we do to market to certain people. Some of these will be vacant. You'll get return mail back. If you take a foreclosure list or pre-foreclosure, you drive around a neighborhood and you note which ones are there. You see which ones are occupied still, which are great, because now you know that they're home and they're going to at least look at some of your marketing. The ones that are obviously vacant, you go back and see if there's forwarding addresses, see if you can track them down with other means, skip tracing, etc. So, the point is, this is a market that's not really well, I guess you could say, served, and if you can get a hold of people, there's deals to be had. It's just a matter of doing a little bit of extra work. So that's kind of the scoop on that. But again, the New York, New Jersey, Newark area leads the top 10 metros with zombie foreclosures. And again, these are what we call them zombie, which is abandoned homes. Typically, you can drive around neighborhoods, you can see what they look like. It doesn't, it's pretty obvious. Some signs of abandoned homes you're going to see, I guess you could say, mailboxes, with stuff with, newspapers or flyers, whatever. Maybe old newspapers on the ground of the driveway. Sometimes you'll see garbage cans. When they left, they pulled their garbage cans to the curb, and then, they just got knocked over or at the side of the house. Obviously, no one's taken them in the garage or put them behind the house, etc. So obviously, high grass, unkept yards, weeds. Many times if you see stickers on windows, that's a good indication that the home is in some sort of foreclosure status. It could be in a pre-foreclosure. It could actually be foreclosed on. Typically what happens is that lenders, when they realize you're not paying your mortgage, they will send, we'll call them servicing crews, to go out and inspect the property. So they may drive by and they're going to report back saying, well, I think it's occupied, or I think it's vacant. If they take a look at the house and they see that it's vacant, what these crews will do, and they should, because it's safety, is they're going to drill the deadbolts. They're going to replace the locks with their locks. They're going to secure the property so there's no vandalism or further damage. Down here, if there's open swimming pools, they're going to put almost like a 2x4, like wooden frame with sort of the chicken coop wire to cage it, so people can't fall in the pool and drown. So sometimes when you see those stickers, it typically says that ABC Securitization Company has secured this on behalf of the lender. So that. So basically, when I drive by, I take a look. When's the last time I'm there? I look around the property. Then I'll research it and see whether it's in the pre-foreclosure process, so it's still a potential deal for me, or if it's already taken back by the lender, then it's in their sort of REO business. Whether it's going to come back on the MLS, who knows in the future. But that's the opportunity. So when you see stickers, it doesn't mean it doesn't. You got to just check it out. And the best way to look at it is you go to your public records, go to your property appraiser website, type in the address. Obviously, if it's owned by the homeowner, the name is going to be there. If there's a separate mailing address, that means it maybe was a rental or second home or vacation home. So now we know where to direct mail them. If it's got a bank name or a trust or some other interesting name on it, chances are it's already been foreclosed on by the lender and it's brought back in their inventory, or it's been sold and somebody else has it and they just haven't, maybe recently purchased it. They haven't had a chance to start to fix it up and put it back on the market or rent it out, whatever. So that's kind of how you tell when you drive around. But again, it's kind of obvious, but and this is a plague. And why do they secure these homes? Because they don't want squatters, they don't want vandalism, they don't want pests, rats, cockroaches, whatever. They try to do their best to keep this, it doesn't always work, but they try to secure it so, we're not having more and more damage and more loss of revenue on the property. That's the whole point. Clearly, over the years, these zombie foreclosures, the issue has been they look horrible, no one's taking care of it. It may take a long time to go through the process, either through the pre-foreclosure process or, again, whoever had purchased it or it's sitting in the lender's inventory, they're not moving it. So it's just an eyesore for the neighborhood, and it's sort of, people say it's bringing our property values down. That's how they perceive it. So I look at it, it's actually a good thing. We want values to come down so more people can purchase this. But herein lies your opportunity. Zombie foreclosures, it's a fun thing to talk about. They also ebb and flow with, they're going to ebb and flow with foreclosure filings. So, the past few months we've seen an increase in foreclosure filings. So in the future we'll see more of these zombies, adding to this list here. It's as simple as that. So just realize that's what goes on. If I look at it, we can break everything down by, they've even got some specific counties. It's counties. Well, we did metro MSAs. They got specific zip codes, kind of like their top 10 zip codes here. The number one, I guess you could say, with at least 100 properties in pre-foreclosure, looks like Cleveland, Ohio has zip code 44105. That's your leader with 57 zombie, homes in that zip code. So again, certain locations will have higher than average, pre-foreclosures and higher than average zombie foreclosures. Whether that's an indicator of economic situation going on in that location, who knows? It's probably is, and you have to dig deeper down with the zip codes to find out what's really going on in that area. But it's all over the place. You got Ohio, you got New York, you got Florida here. That tends to be the leaders in the zip code areas. And some of these are also investor owned. So realize that when Adam Data Solutions does their, it's not just zombie foreclosures, it's vacant properties and zombie foreclosures. So investor owned, you can be an investor and it's not rented, you're in between tenants, you're in the process of fixing it up, so it's not complete yet. So the highest level of vacant investor-owned properties were in Indiana, 8.8%, Kansas, Minnesota, Ohio, and Rhode Island. So interesting that those aren't particularly the eastern seaboard or the west coast here is kind of middle America. So whether that just shows transition of people moving out of those locations, I don't know. And again, this could just be you're in between rental, you're in between tenants type of thing. So that's how I look at it. Nothing much surprises me there. And at the zip code level, which this is actually kind of interesting. Highest number of vacant investor-owned properties. Funny enough, Hilton Head, South Carolina. So, does that mean they're all obviously in pre-foreclosure? No, not at all. But this could be when they did their study, they look at the vacancy and go, okay, maybe this is a seasonal home. Hilton Head obviously is it's obviously off the coast of South Carolina, and it's, golfing, water, beach, whatever. So this could be, hey, it's a seasonal type of application. Flint, Michigan as well. You're going to find that Flint and Detroit have a lot of vacant investor owns. And again, I don't know whether that's probably in Detroit as well too. That's probably a function of the demographic and the economies and the nature of that location. So realize there's opportunities everywhere, and with some of these investor owned, you never know when people want to get rid of them. A lot of people who have had rental or second homes, they may want to get rid of them now just to cash out, or it's becoming too difficult to manage, or they're not cash flowing them. There's lots of reasons why there could be great opportunities here. But anyway, that's a scoop for this weekend. I just want to make sure that I pass it on to you guys. So just to refresh, our top 10 metros with the most zombie foreclosures are New York, Newark, New Jersey, the Chicago, Naperville area, Miami, Fort Lauderdale, West Palm, Cleveland area, Tampa, St. Petersburg, Clearwater, Philadelphia, Camden, Wilmington, Albany, Troy, New York, Rochester, New York, Baltimore, Columbus, and Townsend, Maryland, and Jacksonville, Florida. So that's the scoop on that. So with regards to my never pay retail stuff, I know some people have already joined. I appreciate that, and you're actually giving me great input, which I'm going to deploy and implement in the program. For those of you who we've been going back and forth, let's try to wrap this up as soon as we can. I know I owe some of you some information. I'll be sending that stuff out today. If you have more inquiries, send them to me. I'd like to sort of get everything sort of wrapped up by end of this week and get people onboarded and working towards that. So anyway, once again, thank you for the views. Thank you for the likes. If you'd like what you hear and enjoy what I talk about and keeping tabs on the real estate industry, please do me a favor and subscribe to the channel. It is most appreciated. And having said that, always contact me for any of your real estate needs. I know some people have talked about purchasing property in this area for investment, and I certainly can help with that. It's again always a tight market, but there's always stuff available if we look hard for it. That's what I do. Anyway, guys, have a great rest of the weekend. Look forward to speaking with you in another video early next week. Thank you.